Hi, my name is Jeremy Cole, and I'm going to do something a little bit different here and make this a unique and captivating 2 minutes that can dive into a bit of my story, a bit of what I'm about, and what I do as a coach. So let's start way back. Basically, when I was younger, I was as unhealthy as you could be. I started off at a really good baseline of health, but through poor decision and going with the flow, I ended up in addictive patterns. And at one point, probably my lowest, I was working in a factory, doing night shift, smoking cigarettes, drinking 2 liters of iced coffee and 2 meat pies per day. And that was pretty much it. I was underweight and pretty much in a depleted state, body, mind, and spirit. Fortunately, I got a big wake up call when I was assaulted at a party, and it forced me to look at the patterns and the path that I was going down. I was given the opportunity to retaliate against this person, and when I looked in my heart, I didn't have it. I was like, I'd rather, if that person came to me and apologized, I'd forgive them. So from there, I feel like that planted the seed of something within me of lightness. And basically, within a short time, 6 months of then, I'd quit cigarettes, I'd changed my job, I'd gone towards eating 3 meals a day, I was starting to go to the gym, I put on 10 kilos of weight in 3 months, healthy weight, and then that got me started. And then I spent the next 18 months diving into the world of gym and putting on another 10 kilos, getting to 80 kilos within 2 years of training, feeling the best that I had, and really seeing the benefit in prioritizing one's health. I'd love to say it was all uphill from there. It wasn't. There were still patterns within me that drew me back into short-term gratification, and that played out in my health. Over the years from then, I tended to have ups and downs, spurts of healthy living, and then depletion and crashes. That was compounded by a car crash, by head injuries, by mold exposure, by mercury exposure from amalgam fillings, from numerous different things that ended up culminating in chronic fatigue symptoms about 6 years ago. I'd got to the point where my cognition was affected so much that when speaking to someone, I would completely blank out and forget what I was saying. When I would be trying to think of something, just complete brain fog, even a stutter, and problem articulating what I was trying to say. At this point, I did everything that I could. I did a ketogenic diet for brain health. I began water fasting. I took certain supplements. I read up on brain health, on chronic fatigue symptoms. I applied everything, and within 6 months, my health started to return. It was at this point that I then couldn't stand the winters in Australia, because although my cognition had improved, there was still an aspect of my vitality that was lacking, and I could not handle the cold. Like, I'm talking 4 pairs of socks, 4 pairs of track pants, 4 pairs of jumpers, 2 pairs of gloves, and 2 beanies, not even being hot, just not cold. So something was severely going on. So it was at this time in 2018 that obviously with all of this health stuff going on, drinking was not a good option. And the year leading up to that, I'd been trying to stop, and I'd got to the point where I was drinking about once a month. I was even going out sometimes pretending to drink, getting water and lime cordial in a short glass to make it look like I was drinking. Because I found at the time, some people want to feel like you're a part of the tribe, and when you say you're having water, they're like, no, you're not fun. But if they believe you're drinking with them, they're like, yeah, sick. So I tried that on. Nowadays, I don't do that. But at the time, that was a part of the journey. So I got to this point where I was probably drinking once a month, 6 drinks, but it was still impacting my overall productivity. It was still causing me to just not evolve to the place that I wanted to. So in 2018, when I had this massive crash where my physical health, I was having fatigue, I was trying to do all the right things. I was trying to do a bulletproof coffee, watch a YouTube video, do some breath work, go for a morning beach walk. But 100 meters in, my legs would have absolute pain, like my heart couldn't pump enough blood to them, and I'd have to retreat to the car, sit there for 20 minutes, then retreat home and lay down for about 4 hours to recover the energy to do anything else. So there was something severely going on. I went to all manner of doctors, specialists, everything came back normal. There was no answers. One doctor even said, let's hope it's not chronic fatigue because we can't do anything for that. So basically, I was left on my own to work it out. And really, it was almost like my pre-COVID, to be honest, because I was having actually a lot of the symptoms that people with long COVID seem to have. And I was somewhat isolated. I was living with my mum at the time, but I was only speaking with 2 friends once a fortnight. So a lot of time in my own energy. Fortunately, after doing the ketogenic diet and prioritizing some cognitive rehabilitation strategies, I was able to research and do different things and start to actually really enjoy the time alone in my own energy. So I got to the point where my cognition had recovered. I was able to think and do things on a mental basis. My physical health was still a little bit average, and I had this complete intolerance to cold. As we were coming up to winter in Adelaide, Australia, I was like, I can't handle this. And I decided to sell everything that I had, my motorbike, all the belongings I could, went one way to Southeast Asia just to see if I could avoid winter. Now, at this point, I hadn't been drinking for about 6 months, and I just decided, I'm not going to say I've stopped drinking, but I'm just not going to drink until I feel like it. And that took me on a really spiritual journey because I was surpassing the levels that drinking were capping me at. I had this rapid progression of self because I was able to make choices in alignment with who I wanted to be, rather than each month getting to that point of making poor choices and feeling like I was going off the path. During this time overseas, I stayed with Buddhist nuns, I couch surfed, I was a social volunteer in a hostel, and generally just had a very immersive experience where I was really present. I was just living my best life. It taught me a lot, and there's still wisdom that I glean from it now. But most of all, it got me set on the path of wanting to be of service to others. Recognizing where I'd come from, and that transformation of self was something I wanted to help others with. But I also felt like I didn't just want to call myself a coach. I wanted to do something that would ground that. And so I decided that I would do yoga teacher training and personal training just to have a little bit more tangible aspect and holistic nature to the coaching. So that then ensued a 5-year journey up until now to feel like I was ready to be a coach. And truth be told, I've kind of been moving into it and working with people for the last few years. There was still more experience from life to really get myself to a balanced point where I'd really be effective. And I'm quite grateful for the way that that's unfolded because now I feel like there's a real balance of lived experience, of knowledge and wisdom that's going to benefit the clients I work with so well. And I think ultimately that's what I like to bring to my coaching is strategy, wisdom, but also like this deeper essence of connecting with someone's truth and aligning them with the path that brings this almost magic experience of life of certain things that just feel magnetic, where synchronicity and alignment can occur. And it's a challenging thing for me, to be honest, because trying to package something like that I feel is priceless is where I have a lot of conflict. So that's why I charge $4,000 for a session. Just joking. So this ended up being way longer than I meant to go into. Hopefully this gives you a bit of an understanding of where I'm coming from and what I'm about. And if you want to learn more, check out the stuff below.